Hello, welcome to What the Flick. I'm Christy, this is Alonzo, this is Matt, this is Ben. We're all here because we love Shakespeare. The one week we were finally all together is to talk about the Michael Fassbender, Marion Cotillard, Macbeth. Who's going to talk about it? You want to describe it, please?
So there's this Thane of Glamis, see. No, okay, it's Macbeth. You know, you were, presumably you've been through the 10th grade by this point, or maybe you haven't. Anyway, great
I don't know if you read the comments.
Yeah, I take it back. Anyway, great Shakespeare tragedy about an ambitious king an ambitious nobleman and his even more ambitious wife, and the bloody trail of mess they create in ye old Scotland. Check it out.
Life's but a walking shadow. Honor, love, friends, but in their stead, curses.
Well, yeah, you know, every Shakespeare movie has to sort of find its own way into the material. This one seems like the extra streamlined, extra Scottish version with really cool cinematography.
It's gorgeously shot. Like, even in moments where you want to look away, you know, it's like that slow-mo kind of video game, like Game of Thrones, like blood and mud getting flung at you.
I didn't think
it's
video
gorgeous.
game though.
No?
I thought more like those scenes in Melancholia, right?
Okay.
Like there's those
super slow-mo.
super
That's a good analogy.
slow-mo, and it becomes these almost like these paintings. Like it's almost seeing like a painting in real life, and I think that helps add some drama to the proceedings. I also at times was thinking this movie to me looked like Valhalla Rising.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
very bleak and very oppressive. And there were moments as I'm watching, I'm like, who wants to be king of Scotland?
It kind of sucks.
There's a lot of cloud cover in this movie.
But then the end of it, and the big climactic thing at the end looks like Macbeth on Mars. Like, it's just so gorgeously oversaturated and red. Like, it's gorgeous.
My colleague Ingu Kang asked on Facebook, most orangey movie this year, Mad Max, Macbeth, or Tangerine?
Yeah. No, it's true. And
Every episode of The Nick.
yeah, no, I liked it, but at the same time, like if it's been a long time since high school English class, or if you haven't seen any of the previous incarnations of Macbeth, there's a Roman Polanski version, there's an Orson Welles version. Like, they don't go out of their way to make this make sense to you. Like, context in terms of why certain characters matter.
Right.
And even certain lines, like the really famous soliloquies here, like the whole out damn spot soliloquy is delivered in a whisper, you know? And so if you don't know why that matters, you might not
And
get
am
it?
I wrong? Does Lady Macbeth's "Unsex Me Now" monologue occur a lot earlier in this version than in other ones, or am I just I don't know? It's been a while since I've read it, so I don't know. But yeah, no, you're right. There is a rich cinematic history of Macbeth. I don't know that this is my favorite. I think I probably still am going to go with either Polanski or maybe Kurosawa's Throne of Blood. But you know, I'd say it has a reason to exist. No, I mean, it's a valid thing, because if you're going to do a property that is this well known, it needs to be there for some reason. You know, it's not like when you make Coriolanus, which no one makes Coriolanus.
Right.
You know, Macbeth is kind of tried and true. But
It's been a while since we've had a Macbeth.
It's been a while, and I think they do some cool stuff, and the performances are great. I mean, Fassbender, and I think this is probably my favorite Marion Cotillard English language performance.
More than Inception.
More than Inception.
Right, because Michael Fassbender can do like murder and mayhem, and you know, it's like a walk in the park for him. That, you know, conflicted and tormented men are his bread and butter. So go ahead.
I like that this had an interpretation that I think we haven't seen in a while, or some of the things that this movie does in its interpretation of the play, I think were very effective. It's not perfect. I have a few qualms about it, but I think that, you know, showing, you know, spoiler alert, Macbeth murders Duncan.
Damn it!
When that yeah, come on.
Can you
There's a spoiler on a play that's hundreds of years old.
Spoiler alert down at the bottom.
Come on.
There's someone gets killed.
Yeah. You know, when Macbeth starts out as very, very loyal, and he gets talked into committing this murder and betraying himself, and he goes crazy. And the movie, I think, communicates that well in a way that you don't see a lot of previous interpretations do. I also liked, you know, a lot of times you'll see Lady Macbeth portrayed as this very, very manipulative, very fierce character. And this one, like, she realizes the mistake of what she's pulled Macbeth into doing really early. And then she has there's frequent moments you see from Cotillard where it's this look like the caption should be, I've created a monster. You know, it's oh God, what have I done? And there's a lot of that. And it, you know, there's scenes that she starts to, I'm thinking like, okay, when did Lady Ophelia end up in this particular Shakespeare play?
Yeah, no, it's true. I was reminded of a thing I read once where they talked about how women are more likely to be diagnosed as whatever kind of various mental conditions because men oftentimes, if they have the same condition, can channel them into either business or war or sports or something like that. Basically,
Or movie reviews.
Yeah, well, but the kind of behavior can manifest itself in a way that's acceptable for men and not for women. And so you're right, a lot of interpretations of Macbeth, he's not crazy so much as he's just a real go-getter, and she's the one doing all the pushing from the sidelines. This one I think is a little more
Equanimous.
Equanimous, thank you.
I was totally going to say equanimous. Damn. Stolen again. That's what I sort of liked best about this was her, was that sort of subtlety in her. And it was beautiful, but as so often when movies are beautiful, I feel like the point was that it was beautiful. Like that's what we're like, look what we made.
Like it's distracting?
Look, yeah, it's distracting.
Well, it's a visual medium.
I got it, but there's a degree to which, like, I don't, you have to notice it, but you shouldn't only notice it. And I don't mean that, and I certainly didn't only notice it. It was, Shakespeare was really difficult for me as a kid. And so I have retained that aversion to it.
Interesting.
It was everything in that world was really daunting to me until we read it. Like, I couldn't have understood it until I was 20s. Really, when I was like, my reading comprehension was I thought slower, at least compared to my classmates. I mean, I'd read Shakespeare, we'd ever read it, and if we read it in 10th grade, I'd be like on page 2, and I'm like, who's following this? What point do you, if it hadn't been for Cliff's Notes, I wouldn't have been able to understand.
I was going to say, Cliff's Notes.
I own
That's what they're there for.
And the movie versions.
So I have never at any point in my life revisited that material. Like, that stuff is, to me, I'm like, oh, you're kidding, I have to watch Macbeth. And then I was like, oh my God, my friend wrote it. He didn't even mention
Your
it.
friend, William Shakespeare.
My friend, yeah.
That's how old Ben is.
Yeah. I mean, it was Billy in school.
Buddying around with the bar.
He was on a kickball league.
But I mean, like, I gambled.
We called him BS.
I've had so many gambling conversations with this guy in the last 6 months, and not at any point did he be like, oh yeah, by the way, you might want to check out my film Macbeth later this year. I literally got the screener, and I'm like, Jacob Koska, what the? So it's really artfully done. It was really difficult for me to get through, and I don't think if and so I would tell but you don't think you have to worry. You have to be to enjoy these movies, you should be a Shakespeare fan. And I'm not.
Right. I mean, no, yeah.
By the way, later today we're doing Star Wars. I don't really like those movies either.
Spoiler again.
But to your point though, if you don't like Shakespeare and if you don't know a lot about this, if you've never read it, this is not going to help you. This is going to leave you pretty lost.
It's going to leave you very lost. I mean, I do know the story thanks to Cliff's Notes, but they didn't. It still sounds weird to say Cliffs. It still should be Cliff Notes.
It's a guy named Cliff.
Yeah.
So we should mention the director is an Australian guy named Justin Kurzel. His brother Jed did the score. I found the score very unsettling and very tense as well.
Totally. From the first 40 seconds,
and
it's tense and unsettling.
And there's very little of the movie that doesn't have the score underneath it.
Yeah,
true. There's like a hum to it.
Yeah.
Oh, and we should mention David Thewlis.
Yes, he is Duncan. And Paddy Considine, who we always like,
yes.
right? Considine.
I can't
Considine.
remember the actor's name, but he was the villain in this year's Mission Impossible plays.
Sean
Macbeth.
Harris.
Sean Harris.
Right, and Paddy Considine is Banquo. So, so what are our numbers then? Ben's not going to give a number. Ben's going to recuse himself as a friend.
But I would be exactly where you guys are.
Okay. So, Matt.
Yeah, I give it a 7. I think that Cotillard's the best thing about it and the way it looks. I think Fassbender's done better work this year.
Better than Steve Jobs.
Movies are so similar. 3 acts.
Macbeth's got a product launch.
Steve Jobs killed Bill Gates.
What's your number?
I'll say 7.5. I think this is a very solid interpretation. It's not the last word in Macbeth's, but it's well done, I think.
I'm saying 7.2. So our average is a 7.3. And where is it?
85% on the tomato meter right now.
Okay, so see this or Steve Jobs at the same time. Bye.